Hey guys, welcome to part 2, where we'll be discussing The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Last time you were here, we discussed perspective, the idea that how you see things will really either empower you or just add more flames to the already existing fire. This week, what we're gonna travel on to is, what happens after? After you've thought all the thoughts, planned all the plans, you made all the goals, what do you do next? Because you have to do something. It's not enough to just think about doing good things or think about your next move. At some point, you're actually gonna have to do it. So the book reminds us that in order for us to be most successful when we're tackling whatever obstacles come our way, we have to be persistent, we have to be resilient, because sometimes things really just aren't going to be how we want them. And also we have to have a very, very clear vision, a strategic vision, a goal that we're just kind of laser focused on. How we go about achieving that goal, however, can be a little bit different, depending on the person and the situation. What are your obstacles today? Think about it, make a list, and then let's figure out how exactly we're going to go about tackling them. So excuse the profanity, but sometimes shit just happens, right? Shit just happens. In the book, he reminds us, there are definitely procedures in place and processes, actions that we can enact to change shit into sugar. And that's pretty much the goal of part 2. How can we make bad situations a little bit better? The first step in part 1, we can think about it and think about the problems and think about the solutions and think about our place and our position and our power and all those things. But then we have to do something. The first thing is simple. You have to start, right? You have that 10-page paper that's due. You gotta start. Just write your name at the top of the page. You have to start at some point. Why not now? There's a phrase that I was told, I'm probably gonna paraphrase it. Maybe you've heard it before, but anytime I wanted to procrastinate, my parents would be like, why leave for tomorrow the things that you can do today? Or some kind of iteration of it like that, right? Why wait until tomorrow? First of all, you don't even know if tomorrow's promised to you or the people around you. So make the most of the opportunities that you have today. Start working on that project today. Sometimes our problem is that we delay. We delay ourselves. We delay the inevitable. We delay whatever. The conditions might never be to your liking. It might never be quite ideal. Very rarely in life does everything just work out exactly how we want them to be. You know, if you want to create that momentum behind your idea, your company, your skills, it starts with you. And you've got to make that first move. You have a path before you, right? And all of our paths look different. It's based on what you're actually trying to do, where you're actually trying to go, right? So I have my path, and there's different obstacles along the way, trash, spiky vines, a weird troll under a bridge, I don't know. But you have your path in front of you and you have obstacles along the way. So you have to determine your process about how you're going to tackle each obstacle to eventually get to your prize. What's interesting about this is that the path affects the process, in that whatever is before me is going to, in a way, determine how I want to tackle it. But then, interestingly enough, again, the process itself affects the path, because one process might yield a completely different result or in a shorter time frame. You know, like if I were cleaning up my path with a leaf blower versus raking it, something as simple as that. I don't know if you're following me. But basically what I'm trying to say is how I decide to also tackle my obstacles, the means and the methods that I utilize will also impact that path and how quickly I'm able to traverse it, maybe if I can find alternative routes, etc. So they both impact each other. So the path impacts the process impacts the path. But enough of these P's. What am I trying to get at? Basically, after you started, it's about going back to the basics. So like your ABCs, but literally. You've got to remember, just take care of the simple things. What's a good example? Well, as you guys all know or should know by now, I'm a doctor in real life. I'm in a residency program in upstate New York. And let's just say this hypothetical situation, to be honest, not so hypothetical now that I'm thinking about it, but let's say an unconscious person is just kind of wheeled in front of you in the ED. What do you do when that happens? Bring it back to the basics. Like any med student or nursing student probably also can tell you, it's about your ABCs. Is their airway open? Like you look at the trachea, look at the mouth, all that stuff, right? B, are they breathing? Because we all need oxygen. C, do they have a circulation? Check their pulses, because then maybe I need CPR. Because the most important things I've got to think is not, oh my God, what happened? Was it a gunshot? Was it a stab? Was it this? No, that matters. But right now, the most important thing, if I want to try to make this a successful situation as best as I can, the most important things that I need to do is to bring it back to basics and make sure he has oxygen and also a functioning circulatory system that can distribute that oxygen to all his organs. But that's being overly specific. Basically, what I'm saying is whatever big obstacle is in front of you, try to break it down into little steps. You're not going to try to tackle your Goliath of a task all in one day. Most likely that's just going to result in failure. But if you break it down into different steps and tackle each step at a time in the appropriate and logical order, you're more likely to be successful. So we have the path. We know we need a process to get down the path to our prize. How do we do this? We've got to persist and resist. Persist. Know that oftentimes you are knowledgeable enough, you are skilled enough, you just gotta be able to play the long game, right? And resist the temptation to delay, to be discouraged, to be disorderly in your approach. So going back to the path, the process, and the prize, focus on the process. Because to be honest, if we're thinking about it, that's the majority of the time anyway, right? You're spending the majority of your time trying to address whatever obstacle is in your way so that you can get through the path to get to your prize. But is life just about the prizes that we kind of get along the way, or is it really about the journey and the experiences and the knowledge and the skills that we're acquiring? Obviously, this is a leading question. It's about the latter, the process, the journey, and the skills that we're getting while we're on this crazy ride. So while you're looking at your obstacles and analyzing and figuring out how you're going to tackle it, take time to just live presently as well. What happens if you're trapped though? I'm actually going to read a quote from the book, and I'll take a picture or something so you guys can read along. Being trapped is just a position, not a fate. You get out of it by addressing and eliminating each part of that position through small, deliberate actions, not by trying and failing to push it away with superhuman strength. And before he wrote that quote, what he was discussing was if you were to be the victim of an attack, like a physical attack, and someone shoved you and was pushing you on the floor with all their body weight on top of you, what would you do? And he said, well, the instinct is really to fight back. And what people do is they start pushing. But if someone bigger than you and stronger than you and with a malintent is on top of you pushing you down and you're trying to push up, chances are you will just kind of stay there pinned. What he's saying you need to do is to not push back, because that's just going to exhaust you and your defenses. What you need to do is to reevaluate the situation and to make that person lose their balance so you can hopefully shift them off of you and then have a better chance of actually gaining or regaining your freedom. So basically, what was I trying to say in that example? It's not about, I gotta work hard, I gotta work all the long hours and come in every holiday and not take any lunch breaks and not pee or poop when I need to. I'm just a machine. No one can do that, and that's not healthy. Please don't. It's important that you take rests. and, supply your body with the appropriate nutrients and all that jazz. What he's saying is that sometimes we try to do it through just like brute strength and whatever. And it's not about working harder. It's sometimes just about working smarter, reevaluating what can I do? What do I have control over? How can I destabilize the grip or the hold that this person, this company, this whatever has on me? In taking action, we're actually taking ownership and responsibility, because life doesn't just happen. We are living it. So since I'm an active participant of this thing called life, my actions are the way that I say to the world, hey, I'm living here and I don't like this, or I do like this and I think we should do more of this. My actions are my ways of saying I'm responsible for at least myself, and I'd like to take ownership of that and do my best with the things that I have to hopefully enact good changes, not just for myself or the people who know me, but for everyone. And here's another thing, right? Whatever you're doing, it's just as important as the next thing and the next thing, and eventually that last thing that leads you to your goal. Whatever you're doing now is just as important. So don't, have this hierarchy of, oh, well, I'm only this. I'm only doing this. This is only my role in this community or my company or whatever. Whatever that only thing is, it is important. I don't know if anyone has a religious background, but as some of you or all of you may know, I'm a Christian, right? And there's a Bible quote, I'm just going to paraphrase, that says, whatever you're doing unto God, whatever you're eating and drinking, whatever you're doing, do it to the honor and the glory of God. Right? So if you're having a conversation and it's unbecoming of you because you're gossiping about someone and gossiping never leads to anything good, then you're like, well, can I gossip to the glory of God? No, I can't. So then maybe I shouldn't do that, right? Let's say you're not religious then, fine. So if it's not to the honor and glory of God or a being beyond yourself, then it's just for you. Just for your reputation, for your skills, for your development. Whatever you're doing, that task is not beneath you. It is important, which is why you have that task. If the pandemic has taught us anything, is that, all jobs are essential, and I do mean it. To have a hospital function, you don't just need the doctors. You literally need the nurses. You literally need the techs. You literally need even the most humble of positions like the janitor. We need everyone to do their part, right? Imagine if you had a hospital without cleaning staff during COVID, when we saw all those patients. It would just be, well, it's still running rampant now, but it would just be everywhere. Even worse. So how are we going to go about things, right? What is the right way? Once again, another leading question. There is no right way. The right way really is whatever way that you can actually accomplish your task, your goal, get over the obstacle, and achieve your prize, right? Without, of course, breaking any laws or doing anything unethical. But there is no right way, because one size does not fit all. The book gave this example, and I think it was a true story. Apparently, decades ago, there were two rival fruit companies in America who were trying to get a 5,000-acre plot of land in some South American country. And apparently there was some disagreement over the ownership of that land. Two different people were claiming to be the owners and had different documents that stated basically that they're the owners. And that's a problem. You're trying to expand your business, you want the land, but you can't buy it because no one knows who really owns it. So one company, the more wealthy company, decided, all right, I'm gonna hire 20 lawyers. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. My lawyers will look into all the documents and all the town records, and we're gonna figure it out. The other guy was, a little bit sneaky, and he said, well, I'll just buy it. but I'll buy from both of the guys. So he ended up spending twice the amount in that, you know, like if it was $1 million, he spent 2 million because he gave 1 million to owner A, 1 million to owner B. But in the end, he got what he wanted. In that example, what was the goal? Was the goal to figure out who was the rightful owner? Or was the goal actually to just buy the land and to gain ownership? And that's the thing, right? No one would fault that first company for hiring all the lawyers and going through all the records and trying to figure out who the owner actually is. No one would fault them. Heck, honestly, before I read that example, that's probably what I would have wanted to do. Like, okay, let's just review the records and figure out who actually owns this. But the other guy kind of came in with a curveball and said, honestly, it doesn't matter to me who owns this because that's not my business. All I want is to gain ownership. All I want is this field of land. So I'm just gonna get to it however I can. How do you strategize? What are your strategies that you employ? How do you think about things? Your actions and your approach to your obstacles really do matter. Think about it, right? It's the 1700s, I don't know when. It's the 1700s and we're trying to storm a castle and they have a moat with alligators in it. I don't even know if that's historically accurate, but this castle has it. So we have a castle, we have a moat with alligators around it, and we're trying to storm this castle because some really bad people are in there doing really bad things. A lot of people might think, okay, let's just, go in there with iron fists, let's just fight our way through it. Or another way to think about it is, well, there's a castle with people with limited resources. At some point, someone's gonna need to come out to get food, to get resources, to just leave and get fresh air, right? We could just wait them out. And that's a good point that the book brought up, that it's not always about what you're doing. Sometimes waitful watching is called for. Sometimes maybe you just need to stop. And not even reevaluate and think about what you're gonna do next. Like, you just need to stop. Take a break. Take a week off. Take a month off. Just wait. And it's okay. As long as you're not just, waiting without a purpose. But sometimes watchful waiting is necessary in order for you to meet your goal. So then you're like, but Khadija, I did all these things. I thought about my obstacle and I was like, okay, it's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not the biggest deal. I can do this. I remembered my power, I remembered my strength. I thought about my resources. I made an outline. I did my plan. I did everything, Khadija, and I still didn't get it. I didn't make it down the path to my prize. What's good? What happened? Well, that's life, unfortunately. We don't always win. This is not the prosperity gospel where I'm just gonna be like, you win and you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. That's not life. That's not how things work, right? Sometimes we are going to fail. Sometimes we're not gonna make it to our prize. Sometimes we're gonna change prizes, and that's okay. That's what part 3 is actually about. Part 3 is titled Will. Like, will you subscribe to my channel and stick around for part 3? I don't know. But I also really couldn't resist that joke. Sometimes you do all the things just like you should, you get all the resources, and you still might not have the outcome that you want, and that's okay. Those are teachable moments. Those are times where we can hold fast to our humility, because humility is an asset that we need in life and we need more of. To understand that we are limited. Sometimes things are just beyond me and beyond my control, but I can still do the small things here and there to make it even just slightly better. Every step can make an impact that's beyond you and yourself, beyond things that you can see, and you may never know. My name is Khadija. If you're new here, welcome. I'm a doctor in the real world. I'm a family medicine resident in my 2nd year of training, so 1 more after this, guys. I do videos like this where I kind of just share whatever's going on in my mind, books that I'm reading. I might make some comments about society, the new laws, and the pandemic, whatever it is. At times, I hope to kind of go back to the medicine and talk to you about health and wellness and how you can basically be the best version of yourself that's possible, and educate you about random things. I also sing. So every now and again, I'll try to, post a song. I'm trying to do something for Christmas, so stay tuned. If you're interested in one of those things, all of those things, please stick around, please subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Bye.